11th, I went to Broadway in New York. Are you familiar with that?
No.
You know what Broadway is?
Yeah, Broadway, New York. Yes, I do.
The theater district. And there's this girl named Teresa Serio that was run over by a car as a pedestrian, victim of a drunk driver. And I wrote a poem for her, and then I introduced her show on the 7th anniversary of her accident. And Evan Ginsberg is the associate director of The Wrestler, Darren Aronofsky's film. And, they invited me down there to do the poem, and I did. And I'd like to give it to you right now. Now, when I do a poem, and by the way, I wrote all my own poetry, and I don't think plagiarism is a joke. So the way I write poems, I don't want you to have any questions after the poem, because otherwise I failed. In other words, if I didn't tell you who, what, when, where, why, and everything about this woman, then I failed. Because to me, poetry is about communication. So let me just run it by you, and then you should know everything about her. It happened in Manhattan 9 months after 9/11, the illegal U-turn of an SUV. It smashed into a taxi cab and hurt my friend Teresa, whose name is featured on tonight's marquee. In the fight for her survival and her rehabilitation, they took away her leg but not her voice, and they can never take away the passion of Teresa that makes her friends and family rejoice. From the trauma of the accident on Park and 34th to the epic voyage she has made since then, if anybody listening does not believe in miracles, Teresa Serio is alive again. And this is going to be on a documentary of her life, and she's also a motivational speaker, but she speaks to the soldiers and the people that have lost limbs. She goes to all the hospitals and inspires them to not give up. Her leg was taken above the hip, so she has to wear a corset with the artificial limb in there because there's no stump to attach to it. And yet she's not wallowing in self-pity, but she's doing what she should be doing, which is turning her negative into a positive and inspiring others. And in my way, that's what I do, except I have not been in any accidents. I'm able-bodied. So I'm just going for the, let's put it this way. A few weeks ago, I was wrestling in Thunder Bay, Ontario, and I spoke at the Boys and Girls Club, and I also went to the schools. Now, you may ask yourself, don't they have summer vacation? Well, in Canada, for some reason, they keep the kids in school a little bit longer, and they didn't get their, and I thought, that's a bore, you know what I mean? It's like I'd be picketing against that,
Right.
Anyway, that was quite a long speech I just made. I hope you liked my poem, but, there was nothing funny about it, so I decided to, keep the humor to myself and just talk seriously, that I believe it is a miracle that life gives you lemons and you make lemonade. And I think she's a phenomenal person, and I think that everybody that has a chance to see this video should be coming out at the end of the year. I think you'd be well advised to go see it, wherever it is.
Okay.
Definitely.
Now, continuing our talk, I don't really know the proper way to transition from that to something else, but, I'm just going to ask a question that was, sent from the chat room. One of the chatters were asking about your thoughts on your brother's rap album that came out a while back. Are you into rap, and what were your thoughts on that album?
Well, I mean, Michael Jackson was called the greatest entertainer that ever lived. Now, that's just a matter of opinion. I would never myself buy a ticket to see Michael Jackson, but I would to see Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, Peggy Lee, Leslie Uggams. These are the people that I like. But one man's poison is another's paradise. I don't like rap in general. I spell it with a C. Can you figure that one out?
Yeah. I believe WCW made a song about that at one point.
Yeah.
Rap.
Anyway, I don't like to answer questions directed to my brother. However, I will go out on a limb and say that of all the fantastic performances he's ever done, I don't think this was one of them. I think he was out of his element. And that's just the way I feel about it. I thought that the greatest thing I've ever seen him do was WrestleMania 3 against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Right.
And everything else he's ever done, nothing eclipsed that moment. And not just him. That set the bar for anybody that ever wanted to have a good match.
Okay. All right. Now, speaking of that, what would you consider your greatest match? I mean, your brother is the one that got most of the acclaim, from the Poffo family, in most people's eyes. But what would Leap and Lanny or the Genius's greatest match be? Is it that your Saturday night match with Hulk Hogan?
Definitely, yes. For me to say anything else would be just a lack of appreciation for Hulk Hogan for what he did for me. That was 20 years ago. He hasn't done anything for me lately, but I am eternally grateful for what he did for me 20 years ago. The Genius was victorious against the mighty Hulkster, and the World Wrestling Federation fell. For a billion Hulkamaniacs who live and die for Hogan saw the Genius was triumphant at the bell. They saw their hulking hero as he wallowed in self-pity, like the victim of a somewhat heinous crime. And now he has a partner even stupider than he is, so I'm sure he'll be the loser one more time. Mr. Perfect, you're the man who's never wrong. Can you prophesize what we're about to do? By the power of the Genius and the world's smartest man, rely on my incredible IQ.
Very nice. You still remember after all the years.
Oh, poetry is my blessing and my curse. So, no, I never forget him.
Okay. Now, which was your a better time for you, Leaping Lanny or the Genius?
The Genius.
Why is that?
Leaping Lanny was a suffering hero, and the Genius was the nemesis of Hulk Hogan. And if anybody ever remembers my name, it will be because of his.
All right. So you've got a lot of love for the Hulkster.
I absolutely have a lot of love for the Hulkster. Yes, I do. And I am very, very sorry for the last 2 years that he's been in the news for some negative reasons, stemming from his son and his wife. And I assure you I took no pleasure in his downfall.
Definitely. Now,
and I also believe that he's got what it takes to bounce back. Because, I judge a man on how he's doing when things aren't going well. And things definitely aren't going well right now.
No, it's not. Not at all. But, he is the Hulkster, so I'm sure he will find a way to bounce back. He always seems to do so. My question, we saw that Coco Beware was inducted just this past year into WrestleMania Hall of Fame, and he was known as more of a mid-carder and putting over guys. Do you see yourself ever being inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame?
Well, probably not, but if I get the phone call, I would definitely go. You see, these things are all a matter of opinion anyway.
Yeah.
For example, there's objective and subjective. Now, Pete Rose, nobody can deny that he has more hits in his life than any other person who ever played the game.
Right.
But he'll probably never go in the Hall